I didn't really give. I could have definitely done a better job of looking at your LinkedIn because I know you've accomplished so much.
Actually didn't update. I haven't updated my LinkedIn since like my first year.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's not updated
All
at
right, I
all.
got you. Well. Still, as a journalist, I should have looked. But what I wanted to talk about is me and you have a connection with the University of Pittsburgh Center
Okay.
for Urban Education. Now, first I'll talk about me, and then I'll ask you about your experience with them. I I was a member of the 2017 and 2018 cohort of the Center for Urban Education Fellowship Program. So I was, or actually, am I saying that the right? No, it was Heinz Fellows, right? Heinz, right. It's funded by Heinz. So I was a Heinz Fellow for the inaugural year that they were doing it at Pitt because before they were doing it at Duquesne. And they had to reevaluate it because at the time it was only supposed to be for black men to create a pipeline for them to become teachers. But then they wanted to expand it. So my class was like the first class to have people who are Caucasian or people who are women or people who are of the LGBTQ community. So that was my class back 2017, 2018. Had a great experience there. I'm glad that I was able to attend the lectures and to do different projects and research with the students. But now we get to you. Can you tell me about what your experience was like or is like working with Q?
It was great. It was interesting. I don't
You
think
so you were, you're not currently or
Oh no, it was. I'm not. It was basically just an art exhibition.
oh okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have a relationship,
Okay.
but I don't work with them.
Got you.
Like I don't have. It was just a business working relationship,
Okay.
but we still keep in touch.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was they were kind of just like a client, but it kind of rolled into a working relationship. One of their employees bought some art of mine, and then that conversation was put in some meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to do an art show, and then my name came up, and because she said I have his art, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I meet with him. That rolled into me meeting with Dr. Dancy. And
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
forgot the other young lady's name. She has glasses. I forgot her name. But I had a couple meetings, and
Yeah.
long story short, they decided to buy like 9 pieces of artwork, and I had an opening and an artist talk. It was cool, and then that rolled into me working with the Africana Studies department, and I'm doing a permanent installation at Pitt. It got put off because of COVID. It was supposed to happen last year, but I have a more permanent piece in Pitt, maybe in a month or so, whenever construction starts.
See, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like legacy defining things because like look, you can be super successful. You can never I know this is not gonna happen, but you can like lose your ability to paint.
You never know.
And
But
never,
I'm gonna still paint. Like,
but
I lose my fingers, I lose my legs.
you
my
gonna
eyes.
figure it out.
I'm gonna figure it out.
But the thing is, though, when you say permanent at a major university of a place, because you gotta really bring all this home. You came from Manchester, man. Like I get it. Like I know you might move around in Squirrel Hill for different things. You might move around in Oakland or all these different areas that are a little bit more wealthy. But you came from Manchester, from the hood, and you're about to have a permanent piece.
I mean, they own
Come
they,
on,
they
man.
own my 9 pieces.
Come on,
they own
come
them
on, man.
now, but they want something they're redoing the whole Africana Studies wing.
That's some black superhero shit. That's what I'm talking about.
I feel honestly none of that would be possible. Like you said, I'm from Manchester,
Yeah.
but they're like off the top of my head, Ashley Battle. She went to the WNBA. She works for Nike now.
Right.
Like
right.
people from my hood that do great things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could do something great too. So that's kind of like what also motivates me, because whoever might see this or might hear about me, I want them to know, like, yeah, he came from Manchester.
Now I wanted to maybe not stay on it too much, but we were having a real spirited discussion about art. And I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, but now I finally have a human being to have this with and not just a Facebook status to talk about. So I was talking about Chris Brown and Bruno Mars earlier. Now let me set this up. Now, I think Chris Brown is talented. Chris Brown is immensely talented. Chris Brown is super talented. Chris Brown's a multidisciplinary artist, just like yourself, that paints, that draws, that does all these different things, very similar to you. Maybe not the dance and the pop like
Yeah.
but you and Chris are similar in that way. And CB Perry, CB Breezy, right? So, but my criticism or my critique of Chris has been I don't feel like artists like him and Drake and Kevin Hart are getting the most out of their talent. So please, can you tell me, and not just focusing on Chris Brown, but what are your thoughts about what I just said? How about something like that?
I understand what you're saying,
Right?
Because I feel like when Kevin Hart first came out, he seemed a lot more funny. He seemed hungry, and I feel like Kevin Hart now, Drake, Chris Brown now, they don't seem as eager, passionate, as hungry. And you said like we talked about off camera, they got caught in that machine, and it's just like they're just churning them out.
Yeah,
and I feel like I agree. There's a next level because he has all the talent in the world,
all of it
to make like classics like that. Timeless, but I just feel like they just got caught in the money grab machine.
Yeah, because the thing I think about, and I get it, like art. So here's another thing I want to talk about. I think there is this notion that if art doesn't look like Mary J. Blige singing about somebody that cheated on her, if art doesn't reflect some kind of emotion that we feel like is sorrow or it's pain or something like that, then it's not serious. But if it's all happy, but the way so what I feel about that though is that I'm not saying that somebody has to be smiling all the time, but I find that when I look at Chris Brown's newer music, when I hear him do Go Crazy with Young Thug, I'm into that because to me, I can, like, when he's singing, I can actually, like, I can visualize him smiling as he's making the record. Just like with Bruno Mars, who I brought up earlier, Bruno Mars give me the vibes that he's having fun, whereas with Chris Brown, it's just like, you know, talking about like fuck niggas and bitches and we say these words sometimes, but it's just like in R&B. I'm not trying to hear that overly represented.
I mean, I just feel like it's like the product they put out doesn't move you. Like you could listen to it, but I mean after you turn it off, like that was it. But it doesn't move you, and I feel like across genres, like same thing with Kevin Hart stands up. Like you remember Delirious, Raw.
Those are moments.
That shit still exactly, and they have the talent too, but I just feel I don't know what they need to do. Maybe slow down a bit, maybe fall in love with it again. I don't know, but there's a lot of material that just doesn't move me.
And I think with to go to Kevin Hart, first of all, I love Kevin Hart as far as what he represents. But what I'm seeing with Kevin is that the way that we're starting to talk about him is the same breath that we talk about Tyler Perry. And what I mean by that is whenever you say Tyler Perry in the black community, you're going to get either like, oh, he sucks, he's terrible, or you're going to get, he's doing so much for our people. And I feel like this, I don't have a problem with him doing a lot. I actually applaud the fact that, like, you see with him with Prince Harry and Meghan, how you know he's giving them a place to stay, and he put before Cicely Tyson passed away, he gave her mad roles, and he named
the studio,
named the studio after, and he's always doing things to help us. My problem is it's almost like, this is going to be kind of a weird example because I know some people think LeBron is the GOAT. And I think it's Jordan, but LeBron he belongs in the discussion. But regardless of all that, I feel like sometimes when people talk about LeBron, they're talking more about what he does off the court as opposed to on the court, which there's nothing.
So
go ahead.
I feel in that Jordan-LeBron conversation,
go ahead.
I feel it should be separated. On the court, hands down, it's Jordan. Like,
right.
If you grew up, knew anything about anything, that's a different guy on court.
Right, that's a different.
But off court, I definitely give it to LeBron because he's done a lot with his platform. Like, unheard of things with his platform, and I feel like off the court he's definitely top of Mount Rushmore, but on court of course that's Jordan.
And the reason why I bring this up is because when I look at Tyler Perry and Kevin Hart, what people that defend them will say, and this is not about attacking them, this is just about looking at their art through a critical lens, but what I would say is that I think we all have egos. Like, you're an artist, you can't act like, oh, I'm a humble.
Oh no, I mean I'm my girlfriend will tell you, I'm narcissistic as fuck.
I got it too. Yeah. You see,
but I feel to be great, you have to be.
You do.
If nobody believes in yourself, you better.
Now I'm gonna take you here. Since you had to be great. So I watched football. I didn't play it like you did, but I watched it a lot, and I'm a huge football fan. I've heard that cornerback arguably is the hardest position on the field because you have to do everything that the wide receivers do backwards. And what I'm saying is that what you notice when you say Dion, when you say Richard Sherman, when you say Darrelle Revis, like they have supreme confidence because they know I'm on an island. If I don't do my job, it doesn't matter because everybody sees it. Like a defensive lineman or whatever, he can get like bull rushed over and get knocked out of the frame, but no one will care. But if someone throws a touchdown pass that wins the game over your head,
that's on you.
Yes.
So you have to be top dog in your head because if you're, my uncle told me, he was one of Kent State's first All-Americans, back in the freaking early '90s.
Yeah.
But not even early '90s, like 19.
Yeah.
But he told me when I was in high school, I was a 60-meter dash. I never ran a 60. He said, if you don't go out there and think you're the baddest motherfucker up there, you lost already.
Right.
You have to. So I kind of take that mindset, that competitive mindset into art. Like, you got, I mean, not even just art. If you're going to do anything, why do it if you don't want to be the best?
Right.
Like, why do it? Like, why do it if you don't even want to be great at it?
I totally feel you on that. And to get back to Tyler, Chris Brown, Kevin, what I'm just saying is that I think with Kevin, and I'm going to relate it back to you in a second, but what I'm saying is that it's almost like in order to achieve the ultimate success, because if you ask anyone who's the most famous comedian, like people might say Chappelle, but that's more of a legacy thing. We all love Chappelle, and we like the fact that we feel like Chappelle never sold out.
I think he's the funniest.
Right.
I'm gonna give it to Chappelle.
That's a good discussion. I would have
but
to.
The greatest? I might say Eddie. I don't know. I like Eddie.
Eddie
did a lot.
Eddie did do a lot, but you know what's funny? I think when you're talking about greatest comedian, I think you have to succeed on multiple levels. I think I would say I think there's a guy that is currently locked up because he did some wrong things. He had a TV show.
Oh,
so I think.
I didn't even.
And I'm from Philadelphia, so I think that Mr. Cosby. I wouldn't say he's
speak on it.
I wouldn't say he's the greatest, but I understand. Like, to me, I look at it like succeeding on different levels.
Okay.
Because if you're only a stand-up comedian, but your television shows and your movies are trash, then I can't give you great. I think with Eddie, where he's thrived, is the fact that you got Raw and Delirious, but you also have multiple movies, especially when you talk about Eddie in the 80s and in the 90s. Like, he was a monster. Now, when you start talking about the 2000s and Norbit,
it started to fizzle.
That's some BS. And you know, I have to say one more thing.
But some people consider Norbit a classic. I'm not a fan.
I don't, but
I'm
yeah,
not a fan.
They do. It has a cult following. But I would say, though, you got to succeed on multiple levels, because when I look at Kevin Hart, I think the problem with him is that he does have some really great moments, but it's almost like, you know how we judge LeBron a little bit harsher every time he gets to the finals and he loses, and part of us is like, man, if he would have just flamed out early, then his record would be better. And I think what happens is the whole thing about less being more, and I think with Kevin, because he's done so well and because he has his own production studio, he can make movies with John Travolta. He can make movies with Wesley Snipes. He can make movies with whoever he wants to. But then it comes down to, and I say the same thing about Tyler Perry, like, where's your do the right thing? And I'm not saying you have to have a do the right thing, specifically that content, but where,
like that class.
Yeah, because when you say Spike Lee, it's not like Spike Lee has hits, he has misses. But what you gotta give Spike is that, I'm getting his artistic vision. Because here's something I'm gonna tell you about. We have 3 different cameras operating right now. This one right here is our main camera. We have that camera right there that is your camera, and this camera right here is my camera. Now, what I wanted to bring up about this is that what I noticed in Tyler Perry's movies is moving beyond the bad wigs and the stereotypes and all that kind of stuff. But even when I'm looking at the way that it's shot, if you watch a show like A Queen Sugar, or you watch The Chi, or you watch other things, the camera work is vicious. And the reason why you're so locked into the story is not just because of the great acting, it's because of all the stuff around it. I feel like Tyler misses a lot of the details, and that's why not only we focus on the bad wigs and the stereotypical content, but it's also, I think, the stuff around it, and not having any women in the writers' room, but you have a show called Sisters, and bragging about it.
But my thing is, didn't it come out that he wrote everything?
Right. Yes.
Like, bruh. I mean, because
Yeah.
Not saying like he has it down packed. No, but there's definitely. I feel in any artist genre, there's room for growth, bro.
Yeah.
Like take some consideration and criticism and like grow. Like I don't feel his level of growth between when he first came out with Dia till now is that great. Like I need some growth.
Right, because the thing is, at the end of the day, when you say Tyler Perry, the first thing you're going to think of is Medea. And I think another thing that he doesn't do as well as a Spike is Spike knows when Spike is like a really good role player, where he's the one. He's a point guard, but like in the traditional sense, a pure point guard, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna take my shot right now. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, but I know when to step back. Whereas with Tyler Perry, you're trying to
step back.
Yeah, you're trying.
He might even put himself in a movie.
Right, as somebody other than Medea, and you gotta understand if like when I think about, it's funny because talk about a double standard here. I love Martin Lawrence. Now with Martin, the thing about him is that he played Mama Payne and he played Big Mama, but the thing is, when I think about Martin, that's not the first thing I think about. When I think about Martin, I think about the show, and I think about all the characters.
I think about you talking about the show or just him?
Well, I mean his whole career, but you.
I think about Def Jam. I think about him. I don't like. I don't think about Shanae. I think about Bad Boys.
Right,
but those other characters, I don't think about.
And you know what the difference is? And I'm gonna say this. I know there's a conversation to be had about black men and dresses and all that stuff. But what I would say is, for me, I think Martin is just a funnier, more talented, charismatic person than Tyler Perry. So when he was being Shanae, I won't say Shanae is my favorite character, but I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the way that he portrayed it.
I think everybody did at the time. And
yeah.
I don't know why, or I guess it just wasn't a part of the social climate. We didn't discuss that back then about men in dresses back then.
Right.
It was just funny.
And that's what I think it is. I think there's a difference. So are you familiar with Flip Wilson?
Ish.
Flip Wilson is back in the day. He had a character. He had his own show. He was like really before Cosby and Pryor. He was like that black dude, and in Hollywood. And he had a variety show where he played different characters. It was like SNL, and one character he played was called Geraldine. And Geraldine was a woman that was the most popular character on the show. And if you watch his Unsung on TV one day, what you'll see is that after. Yeah, you got to. Yeah, because after the movie roles, or after the gig stopped and people started to steer more towards Cosby and Pryor, then what ended up happening with him is he struggled to find work. So one time he tells a story about how he was doing stand-up comedy, and I think it was a bunch of white people and nobody was laughing. But he went in the back, he put the wig on and became Geraldine, and they started laughing again. And where I fall on the whole dress thing is, I feel like this. We have to be open here. There are men that like to just wear dresses. There are men like, if you really want to get into it, there are men that like to dress and drag. There are men that like to do all kinds of things. If that's who you are, and that's what you're comfortable with, and you're not compromising your integrity, your view of yourself, I have no problem with it. Where I have a problem with it is if I feel like you're doing it and you're kind of selling out, and I feel like that's where I fall.
So like in a situation where it's like, I ain't got nothing else to do. Let me put on this dress.
Right, yeah, right. Let me, like, I know that's going to give me some clout because I saw this other person do it on TikTok. And my thing is, like, if that's not you, then don't do it. But also, don't hate on people that do it. Because to me, we waste too much energy, I think, like, looking at what everybody else is doing. When in reality, like, I look at it like this. We get mad. Somebody will be like, I don't want that kind of person teaching my child, or I don't want this or whatever. And I look at all the cartoon characters that are getting canceled, like Pepe Le Pew and all this.
My thing is, but with that whole situation with the people wearing dresses and wigs and the canceling of the characters, you know, I do feel like, problematic characters that promote like just a negative imagery. I don't mind getting rid of them, but I mean, I do 100% feel like we control what we see. We control, for the most part, what we consume. Like, we ain't gotta watch that shit.
And I think
we ain't gotta watch that shit.
And I think when I look at, so me and you, we're considered Generation Y or millennials. The next generation is Generation Z that's up under us. And I think what I've seen is that, and me and you can probably connect on this from working in schools before, but it's just like, it's almost like, it's going to sound controversial, but it's almost like everybody is supposed to raise some kids except for the people that had the kids, and it becomes like we're looking to TV, we're looking to teachers, we're looking to politicians.
So I definitely had issues in education.